Hey guys, I'm back with some more end of the world terrain. Now today we're going to do a tree, and you're saying, oh, another tree? Yeah, okay. So, but yeah, this tree definitely has some merits. I've designed this to be a urban tree, so it has a base that would fit with an urban environment. But it's a really nice technique, and you could use it for your fantasy games too, or any games for that matter. But I was going after a dead tree and, you know, the apocalypse kind of setting. So that's what I'm aiming for. But yeah, you could modify this easily to fit in any setting. Just change the base up. So let's go to the table and we'll start crafting that. Alright, to start out for this project, I'm going to use a piece of thin cardboard. This is an old FedEx box, scrap. Okay, so now I have a circle. I'm going to use that to trace my base. So I'll go ahead and do that. Now I want to have like a small retaining wall around this because it's going to be like in a city. So I'm going to draw another circle. And I'm going to use another smaller circle inside to kind of get that. Okay, so now I got two circles. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out, and then I'll cut this out and apply it to that. And this will act as the retaining wall for the tree. Okay, so now I've got both pieces cut out. So what I'm going to do is take this, and I had to cut to get in the center. I'm going to put it on here. And I'll just use my small glue gun to do that. Now that I've got that glued on, I'm going to do a little bit of texture with my glue gun. And I'm going to kind of simulate rocks or bricks on this. So I'll just start here, and I'm just going to kind of do dabs. And be careful, it's very easy to put these dabs together, so don't do that. Alright, so that's what it looks like. So I'll finish this up and then we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so I've let my blobs harden a bit, and now I'm going to do a little more detail on them. Don't try to do this step too quick, because when they're wet it's just going to be really hard to do this. So I'm just going to add a little more texture to them, fill out any stones that didn't get all the way filled out because I had to back off from the glue gun. Okay, now careful when you're going around here, you don't want to glue yourself to the thing. Alright, there we go. So I add a little more detail to those stones, and now we'll start working on the tree. So in this yet another tree video, I am using a easy to find resource, and it is fuzzy sticks. Ta-da! Okay, no jokes please. Okay, fuzzy sticks are just pipe cleaners. Alright, so now let's move on and we'll show you what to do with these pipe cleaners. Again, no jokes please. I've got 5 here, and I'm going to kind of just twist them up. Now,
I could get more than one out of here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in half. So I'll do this. Okay, these are some fairly thick scissors. So now I've got the basic tree there. What I can do is I can, for the branches, I can pull these out a bit. If I didn't want to have as many, I could kind of twist them around. Another branch, maybe I'll do that. And then there, so I got some branches there. All right. I need something to anchor the twigs that I'm going to put on. Well, not the twigs, but the branches that I'm going to extend these with. So that's why I did that. And then I can, for the roots, I'm going to pull them out a little, just a little bit. Not as much as the branches. All right, so then you can kind of get a shape there. All right, so that's a nice little shaped tree there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my white glue. I've got some Aleene's tacky glue here. You can use glue all or whatever kind of white glue you have, just not school glue. And I'm going to start saturating this with the glue. So just like kind of like the toilet paper technique, we're going to saturate this. So give it a liberal coating, and then just start working it into the pipe cleaners themselves. So what I'll do is I'll finish this up, let it dry, and then we'll come back for the next step. My tree is nice and solid, and it still has some give to it, which is one thing I like about this too, that if you bump it during play, it's not hard. It'll give a little bit, but it won't go out of shape. So I got my base here that I'm going to put it on, and you can see it's a little big for that, so I just need to trim that up a bit. So I'll trim up the roots, and then we'll move to the next step. So there we go, I've got the roots nice and trimmed, and they easily fit within this circle. Now the question comes now, do I want to glue this to the base first and then do some detailing on the tree with the hot glue, or do it on the tree first? I think I'm going to do it on the tree first before I glue it to the base. So I'm going to take my hot glue and use my small gun, and I'm going to kind of drag it up and down the tree here. So that'll give it some nice texture. It's a bit prickly with the fuzz that's on the pipe cleaners, and this will give it make it a little more solid looking texture. So there you can see what I'm doing there, and you can kind of see that the fuzz sticking out from the glue when I glued it. So I'm going to finish this up, and then we'll move on to the next step. So since I want this to be a dead tree, I'm going to use just some branches on it. And I've got these this was a $2 plant that I got at the store, and I'm just going to pull these limbs off, okay? And I'm going to use those for the branches of the tree. So I finished gluing my tree up except for the base there, and what I want to do is to take those limbs that I've pulled off of the plastic plant and put on the tips of these branches. So I didn't glue the ends here, so these will fit on the ends. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and glue those on now, and then we'll move on to the next step. I've applied the branches to the tips of the limbs. As you can see, I've got them going in different directions to get to kind of a different, a fuller tree effect. So now what I want to do is, now that I've got those on, is take my glue gun, and they're just kind of set on the tip. So what I'm going to do is kind of blend them in with the glue gun. And that'll not only secure it better, but it'll hide that transition. Okay, so we'll finish these up, And then I'm going to apply it to the base. Okay, so I have my base here, and I want to apply the tree to it. So I'll take the tree, and I'm just going to hot glue it on there. So I'll just put a big goop of hot glue on there. And I'll let it set up. And now we'll move on to the next step. Now I'm going to blend the base in with the glue gun, so I'll just pull up, pull down on the base, and just kind of blend it in. So I'll finish that, and then we'll come back to the next step. I've got this nicely secured to the base, and now I'm going to fill in a little bit of that planter area there. So I'm going to use my white glue, okay, and I'm going to fill this in with glue. Now I've got this filled in with white glue, as you can see, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it with sand, but unlike what I normally do with the construction sand, I'm going to use play sand. So play sand is just sand without the extra larger aggregate in it. So I have a container of play sand here, and I'm just going to pour it on that glue. All right. And then I'll let that dry, and we'll move on to the next step. Now, you may be wondering why I'm using play sand and not my normal construction sand. Well, in a planter situation like this in a city, there really wouldn't be different sized rocks and stuff in the planter area where the tree is. So I decided that I'm just going to use the play sand for the earth of the project. So we'll let this dry, and then we'll move on to the next step. So my base is dried, and now I'm going to reveal what it looks like, so I'll just knock all that off. Alright, so we got a nice base there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do next is I will take this guy and paint him black, and then we'll work from there. So for the tree, I'm going to use a dark brown, and I base painted my tree black, and you see that came out really nice. So now I'm going to start painting this. I'm going to water the brown down quite a bit. And one nice technique to do the branches is just to put them on the paper here and just pull your brush over it. That way you can get the branches stable while you're painting them, instead of them flipping away as you try to paint them and then just turn them over. And these particular branches have a little bit of fuzz on them from the plant, but that's fine. That works fine. Okay, so now I'm going to finish painting the rest of this up, and then we will move to the next step. Let this dry, and then we'll move to the next step. Our tree here is dried, and you can see it's just a dark brown on there. Now I want to do some detail on the tree, so I want to make it look like a sickly tree. So I'm going to use a Mississippi mud and then a very light gray. So kind of like a maple tree might be. So I'm going to get the Mississippi mud and then just start putting it on there. Get the trunk there. Now I'll finish this up. And now, while the tree's still wet, I want to do a little bit of gray on it. So I'll get that gray, and I'm not cleaning my brush or anything. I'll just run it up a little bit about the trunk on the branches. I'm just barely touching it. I'm not putting that much on there. Just a little bit to give it like character. Yeah, have a really light touch with this. difficult to get in some of those branches. Like I say, just get the tip of the brush on there. Don't load the brush up too much. Alright, there we go, there's our tree. So now we'll move on to the next step. Kind of my idea about this base is there's like some cement with some stones stuck in the stone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my country gray and just use a very small brush and then just kind of start going in between the stones. To make that look like cement. Okay, so I'll finish that up and then we'll come back and go to the next step. Alright, there we go, there's my base, and you can see the cement between. I also did the edging. Now, what I want to do, I want to do the stones a different color, more like a brownstone kind of thing. So I'm going to use a coffee color, which is a very light, it's like a tannish color. And then so I'll just kind of use my small brush and just kind of drag it over those stones. Now remember, I've left the brown on them from the initial wash. So they are getting the highlight and everything, but I'm just adding this tan color. All right, so there we go. There's our base. Now one last thing to do and we'll be done. So for the next stage, I just simply took my, I use an earth brown, and then just dry brushed the sand on the base to make it look like dirt. So now our tree is ready for the table, and we'll take it there and talk about it for a minute. Hey guys, here's our finished dead tree next to some survivors, and I think it really looks nice. It really looks like it belongs in the urban jungle with that base we got going on there, and it really just looks like a poor dead tree. Nice texture, very sturdy, and light. So there we go. There's a nice tree to grace your zombiepocalypse or end of the world scenarios in the urban jungle setting. And I'll see you next time on The Craft. Hey crafters, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the DM's Craft. Make sure to subscribe, and I have tons of other videos, as you can see. I am the originator of the 2.5D method of crafting tiles. I also do dirt cheap terrain for the table. If all this intrigues you, make sure you check out all the videos below. Also, join my forum. We have lots of great crafters on there who give advice. I have a link above and below. And last but not least, remember, go forth and craft!